Hello. In this lesson, we look at one of the most well-known algorithms for search called binary search. This is a divide and conquer algorithm. You remember that we already looked at the search problem and we understood a sequential search algorithm, which was a brute force algorithm for doing search. The problem of search is we are given an array of n elements, a1 to n, and a particular key that we are looking for. The objective is to find out if that particular data value, the key, is present in the array or not. If it is present, the algorithm is expected to return the index of that element. If it is not present, the algorithm returns failure as -1 or some other invalid value, right? And the sequential search algorithm, which was a brute force algorithm, gave us linear time performance, order n. That means in the worst case, it had to perform order n comparisons to determine whether the key was present in the array or not. Can we do better than that? We can if the array is already sorted. For sequential search, there was no requirement that the array should be sorted. Let us now assume that the array is already sorted in ascending order. How can we then do better? How can we apply the idea of divide and conquer to solve the search problem much more efficiently than linear time, order n? Let's begin by understanding the idea of binary search. The basic idea here is why should I start searching from the beginning? Why should I start searching left to right from the first element of the array? Is there a way to start somewhere in the middle? Can I just jump to the middle of the array and look for the key element there? That's the idea of binary search. How do we do this? As human beings, we tend to do this naturally, right? Just consider this example. Let's say you have a very fat book. Let's say the book has 1,000 pages, right? So you're holding a 1,000-page book in your hands, and you know that you need to get to page 464. How do you go to page 464? Right? Do we go to page 1 and then start flipping each page one after the other? That would be extremely stupid, right? Who would want to go to page 1 and then flip pages one at a time to get to page 464? What do we do naturally, right? We look at this number and we approximately open some page in the middle of the book. That is, we partition the book into approximately 2 equal halves, right? Let's say in doing that, I got to page 550. Now I know the page numbers in the book are sorted. A book is like a sorted array of page numbers in ascending order. So what do? I compare these two values. Have I gone too far ahead, or do I still need to go further ahead? 550 happens to be greater than 464. That means I have gone beyond page 464. What do I do then? I discard the second half of the book. I don't need to go beyond 550. I need to come back a little. But how far do I come back? Right? Again, I approximately open some part in the middle, that is between the start of the book and 550. Let's say in that case I got to 430. Right? Now 430, what do? I again compare it with, right, 464. It's quite close to 464, but now I have gone too far back. I need to go further ahead. So now I only need to search between 430 and 550, right? The rest of the book has been eliminated. So eventually I will narrow down to the particular page 464. This is the idea of binary search. We don't search the array sequentially from beginning till the end. Instead, we jump to some middle element, compare that element to the key element, and decide whether I need to go to the right or left. Keep doing that. Keep jumping to the middle and looking for the particular element, deciding which way to go, left or right, and eventually we will get to the key element that we were looking for if it is present. Now this algorithm, as we will see, is much more efficient than sequential search. Let us begin by looking at an animation that shows how binary search works. So here is a sorted array. The height of each element indicates the data value of that element. The particular key is this green element, right? This is the element that we are looking for. That is the key element. Right? Now, how does the algorithm begin? It tries to find the midpoint, right? The first midpoint that it finds for the entire array is this fellow right here. This is the midpoint. Is this point shorter than or taller than the key? It is shorter than the key. That means this first half of the array, right, does not contain the key element. There is no need to compare any of these elements with the key. The required element, the one that we are looking for, must be present in this part of the array. Now what does it do? It finds the midpoint of this second half of the array, which in this case happens to be, where is it? Here. So this is the second midpoint. Right? Now what does it do? It compares the height or the value of this midpoint with the key. The key is still greater. That means these elements also will not contain the key element. Right? We need not compare all of them with the key. So now we are only looking for the key element in this part of the array. Again it finds the midpoint. Right? Let's wait and see where it's the midpoint that occurs in this case. So the next midpoint will be here. Right? So this was the third midpoint that it found. Now it compares that to the key. This midpoint, the value there is greater than the key, which means that this part of the array cannot contain the key. The key must be present between this set of elements. So it keeps repeating this process until it eventually narrows down to and finds the key. Right? The most important thing to remember here is all of these elements, right, were never compared with the key. No comparison was done for any of these with the key. In sequential search, we would have compared every one of these elements with the key. Here we don't do that at all. So it's extremely efficient. It's much more efficient than sequential search because the majority of the elements in the array are never compared with the key. You directly get to the key much faster by trying to find the midpoint at each time and deciding whether to go to the right or left, and the other half of the array can be simply discarded. Right? So that's how binary search works. Let us work out an example of looking for a key in an array. So here we have an array of 8 elements. They are numbered 1 to 8. You will notice that it is slightly different from the array indices we were using in earlier lessons. That is because of a small difference between the two textbooks that you have. If you follow Levitin's book, array elements are indexed from 0 to n minus 1. In Horowitz and Sani's book, array elements are indexed from 1 to n. This is just a small difference, but anyway you need to learn to read both kinds of pseudocode. So for divide and conquer, we are following Horowitz's book, so we will also write the array indices from 1 to n. So in this case the array indices are 1 to 8, and there are 8 data elements, and they are already sorted in increasing order. The key that I am looking for is 456. So you will see that it's already present in the 7th element of the array. That's because you are a smart, intelligent human being. There is no way that the computer or our algorithm can see that immediately, because it can't see the entire array at once. It has to go through data elements one by one and find it. So how do we implement a divide and conquer technique to give us an efficient way of searching for this particular key k in this array? So first we will assign I to 1 and j to 8. Right? Then we find the midpoint. The midpoint in this case is I plus j by 2, the floor of that, which happens to be 1 plus 8 by 2, floor of that. Floor of 9 by 2 is 4. So the midpoint is 4. Right? So that is mid. What we do is we compare the data element at the midpoint with the key. So the data element at the midpoint is 15. Is 15 greater than or less than or equal to 456? So it is clear that 15 is less than 456. That means there is no way, because the array is sorted, that the key can be present in this part of the array. So what we do is we only consider the part from mid plus 1 to j for further analysis. So when we consider mid plus 1 to j, I now get I equals 5 and j equals 8. Again I compute I plus j by 2, floor of that, which in this case is 5 plus 8 by 2, floor of that is 6. So the midpoint is 6. So we compare the element at the midpoint 79 with 456. Again the data element is smaller than the key, so the key cannot be present in this part of the array. So in my next attempt, we only have left with these two elements. I is pointing to the 7th element, j to the 8th element. Again we compute I plus j by 2, floor of that. So 7 plus 8 by 2, floor is just 7. So the midpoint is 7 itself. I compare these two elements, they happen to be equal, so the answer is 7. So we just return 7. In other words, the 7th element of the array is equal to the key, so that is the key that we were looking for. The important thing to note is there were many other elements here that never got compared to the key. Not every one of those elements was compared to the key, and that is the efficiency that we obtain from binary search. So if you do this, we will not, unlike in brute force or sequential search, we will not compare every element of the array to the key. We keep jumping to the midpoints, and we only compare the midpoints with the key element. So let's write down the algorithm for binary search. You are given an array A, which goes from 1 to n, and a key k, and you call initially, or you invoke the binary search algorithm by passing it the array, the start index, the first value of I and the first value of j, which is 1 and n, and the key element. If I equals j, what does it mean? That means the array has only one element. You have already narrowed it down to a one element array. Then if that element is equal to the key, return it. If it is not equal, that means the given key is not present in the array, so you return failure, or you return -1 in this case to indicate failure. So the small problem, you remember the divide and conquer algorithms first check to see if the problem is small enough. In this case, small means I equals j. That means there is only one element in the array. If that element was the key that you were looking for, return it. Otherwise, return the index of it, I. Otherwise, return failure. If it is not small, that means j is greater than I. J is not the same as I. Compute the midpoint. And again, we need to take the floor here. Right? So I plus j by 2. So that is the divide part of the divide and conquer. We find the midpoint of the array and we start comparing the midpoint to the key element. If it happens to be equal, wonderful. Return the index mid as the successful value for binary search. If it is not equal, there can be two cases. Either the value there is greater than the key. That means we have already gone too far. Right? We need to look at the first half of the array. We need to move left in this case. So what do? We call binary search recursively for the first sub-problem, which in this case goes from I to mid -1. If it is not true, that means if A mid is less than k, then what does that mean? That means the key is going to be found in the right part, the second half of the array. So we again call binary search recursively, and we go from mid +1 to j. So here is your array. Right? There was a set of elements there. This was I, this was j, and we found the midpoint. The value here, whatever it is, we compare that with the key k. If that A mid is greater than k, that means the key must be present in this part. So what do? We go from I to mid -1. Exactly this part of the array needs to be searched. In the second case, A mid is less than k. That means the key k will be present in the second half of the array. So we go from mid plus 1 to j. Right? We have already compared the value at mid, so we can ignore mid. We either go from I to mid minus 1 or mid plus 1 to j. So those are the two sub-problems. One of them is called recursively depending on the comparison of A mid and k, and then that recursively applies the same algorithm to eventually find a small problem which will be solved by simply comparing the two elements. Right? So how do we analyze the time complexity of this? How many times do we do the comparison? We have already looked at recurrence relations of this type. So T of n is T of n by 2 plus a constant. Why is it T of n by 2? Because I divide the array into two equal halves. I discard one of them. We only consider the other half. Right? So there is only one of Tn by 2, and there is no cost for combining the solutions to the sub-problems. That is constant time. So if we apply substitution method, right, this will amount to T of n by 4 plus 2c, which is T of n by 8 plus 3c, and so on. Eventually it is T of 1 plus k times c, where k is nothing but log n to the base 2, because n is nothing but 2 to the power of k. Right? So the complexity of binary search is O of k, or O of log n to the base 2. So this is much better than linear time. So it is no longer O of n, it is O of log n. But the requirement is, so that we remember it, the array should be already sorted. If it is not sorted, it is not possible to implement binary search. Also, it is only possible to implement this in an array. It is not possible to implement this binary search algorithm on a linked list, for example, because there is no way in a linked list to get to the midpoint of the array in constant time. It's very, very critical that the time required, or the number of steps required to get to the midpoint, must be a constant value. That cannot be dependent on the length of the data, right? So that's another requirement. So binary search can be implemented on arrays and on sorted arrays only. So when the binary search algorithm makes recursive calls, we get a tree structure. Let us go back to our example and analyze the tree structure that results. The first midpoint that we got was 1 plus 8 by 2. Floor of that was 4. Right? So we write that as the root node of this tree, which is called the binary search decision tree. So that's the first midpoint that is encountered. That's a decision point. We compare the element there to the given key and see whether we need to go left or right. In our earlier example, the key was 456, so we went to the right. When we went to the right, we only considered the part of the array from mid plus 1 to j. So that is the midpoint. The new midpoint would be 5 plus 8 by 2, which is 6. Right? So we write 6 as the next node of the binary decision tree. Similarly, if the key was somewhere here, was less than the value at the first midpoint, we would have gone this way. We would have taken this part of the array, and then it would have been 1 plus 3 by 2, which is 2. So 2 would have been the next decision point, or the next node, the child node in the binary search decision tree. Similarly, in our earlier example, after this part, we found that the midpoint was 6, so we considered this part of the array 7 and 8, and the midpoint for that was 7. Right? Similarly, here, if you had to go further left, the midpoint would be 1, and so on. So each of these nodes indicates a midpoint that results from one of the recursive calls to binary search. The interesting thing is to analyze the height of this tree. What is the height of this tree? Each time we are dividing the array into half its original size. So if the original number of elements n was a power of 2 to the power of k, the height of this is at most k. There cannot be more than k levels in this tree. That means the number of recursive calls made by binary search cannot be more than k, and k is nothing but log of n to the base 2. So binary search does not make more than log n recursive calls to itself when it traverses this binary search decision tree to find a particular key. Of course, for a given instance, for a given key, it never traverses both the links. So either that key is greater than the mid or less than the mid. So it either goes right or left at each node. It never traverses the entire tree. So you can see a particular instance of a binary search execution as simply traversing a path in this decision tree from the root to one of its leaves. You can eliminate recursion and come up with an iterative version of binary search. Right? So here is the slightly modified algorithm. Once again, we are given an array and the key k. We start with low equals 1 and high equals n. This is the same as what we called I and j in the other algorithm. As long as low is less than or equal to high, that means the problem is still not small enough. Right? We find the midpoint. I think we have to again take the floor here. Low plus high by 2. And you compare the mid value to the key, if it is greater than key, then that means the key will be found in the left half of the array. You set high to mid minus 1. Otherwise, you set low to mid plus 1. And eventually, when both of them are not true, that means the value is equal to k, you return mid. If you come out of the while loop, right, if this condition is no longer satisfied and you still did not find the element, it returns failure. So what happens here is, if you have an array, right, you start with low and high, then you compute mid. You do the comparisons. If we have to go to the right of the array, we move low to this point. If we have to go to the left of the array, we move high to this point. Right? That means we either consider this half or this half. Keep doing that repeatedly, and we can solve the binary search problem without having to make recursive calls to the algorithm. This is just exactly the same algorithm implemented without recursion by simply manipulating these values of high and low, like we did here and here. Its complexity is also the same as that of the recursive version of the algorithm. Right? So let's look at a quiz question. You are given that same array, the familiar array that we have been using in this lesson. Now, which of the following keys is an example of the best case for binary search? That is, which of these values, if I was to be searching for it, would give me the best case performance? Is it 8765, 8764, 8 or 15? Which is the best case? The correct answer is 15. Why? Because how does binary search work? It tries to compute the midpoint, 1 plus 8 by 2, which is 4. So the first midpoint it finds is this, the fourth element. And if you are in fact looking for the data element 15, you would find it right there. Only one comparison was needed. Only one division was done. So that is the best case. 8765 is perhaps the worst case. It is not the best case at all, because it's at the end of the array. This element doesn't even occur in the array, so that would also require log n comparisons to determine that it does not occur in the array. This element occurs somewhere in the middle. So the best case for binary search is where the element you are looking for is actually present in the midpoint of the array. So in this case, the correct answer is D, 15.